Coach Clint with Clint Speaks, and we're back in the building. Listen, we as usual, we are live from YouTube, we're live from Instagram, we're live from Facebook, and the first thing we always do is thank God for leading us to another Wednesday. I know you see another face on the screen. I'm doing that on purpose. I want to introduce her, but I want to make sure that we are live. For some reason, yeah, we can hear it. For some reason, whenever I go live, I have to make sure that I edit my privacy. For some reason, it goes to friends instead of public. So we are ready to roll and we are back. So listen, y'all, we made it to another Wednesday. We're grateful, we're thankful. Again, you see the face on the screen, and you probably see the face behind me. That is actually a book cover. We're going to explain all of that. We're gonna have a time tonight, y'all. We're gonna talk about some things, and we're gonna dive into some deep topics, some deep discussions. We got the right person on here with me, and listen, I'm gonna turn it over to her in a few. Before we do, if you will pay attention to the ticker on the screen, I'm gonna be putting a link. I'm going to put a link in the comment section that's going to lead us further. I'm excited, if you can tell. So, without further ado, listen, I was minding my own business, as they say. No, I'm just tripping. But literally, I was, I I forgot where I was. I think um, I was out getting my wife some breakfast. I was getting some breakfast, and just got a message. And I love when people are forefront, man. They listen. I got something to talk about, and I love that. Um, but this young lady was very professional, man. Just and you can just see through the messages that she's intent about what who she is and what she's doing and the things she's been through. So man, we got a chance to just kind of chop it up, and I'm learning more about her. It was, you know how you talk to somebody for 5 minutes, and it's like, man, it just sound familiar, man. Just you just get good vibes, man. But we talked, and I'm finding out more about her. What does she do? Because anybody that I bring on, I want to make sure that y'all are edified, that you're built up, that is going to be, good for you all. And this lady, man, I'm telling you, mother of two, licensed cosmetologist, life and fitness coach, motivational speaker, and author of the book. If you can see the book cover behind me, that's her face on the book cover. The book is titled Naked. Is available on hand and at Amazon on Amazon. I'm sorry, but without further ado, y'all, Shemeka Petties. Shemeka, how you doing this evening?
Hey, thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for the
You're fine.
introduction. And I'm
Awesome,
doing well. I'm doing
awesome,
well.
awesome. Well, look, hey Holly, how you doing? So every now and then, Shemeka, I'll be speaking to everybody in the comment section because they make it up with us. So, but how has your week been? How's things been going lately?
This week has definitely been a challenge. I'm a real person with real answers, and it's been a challenge.
Got
I'm a social worker, and I've been commuting down south to do some work. But overall, God is still good, so I won't complain.
Gotcha. I know the last time that we messaged each other trying to get this together. You had just gone through something. Now, me personally, how I am on Clint Speaks is you've seen me on here. I leave it up to the person to be as transparent as they want to be. I don't push any buttons. But if you are open, hey, we're gonna roll. But I know you were going through some things. You went through a life changing event last week. But let's start with first off, how you're a mother of two. How are the children doing?
My children are well. I have a
Awesome,
16-year-old and a 17-year-old.
awesome, awesome. Did you grow up here in Memphis?
I did not. I grew up partly in Hernando, and then about the fifth grade, I moved to Oxford. My mom is a mother of seven. One of my siblings was adopted by my mother's sister because she was young, And so to keep us from being separated in different foster homes or what have
Mhm.
you, the Catholic Social Services found us a low income apartment in Oxford. And I remember staying with grandmother for a little while and then being checked out of school, and we moved to Oxford randomly with the clothes we had on our back. And so
Wow.
it was hard, but it was one of the best decisions my mother made, was to get us from the familiar and take us to a place where we were, it's almost like a cultural melting pot. I was exposed to
Yeah.
different types of people and learning.
Oh man. Awesome. So you actually had experience with the social system before. I know you're a social worker now, and you actually had that to take place early in your life. Wow.
I
Wow.
did.
Okay.
Mama calls me her right hand. I was what you would call a parentified or parent child, meaning that me and my mother had more of a sister relationship, and I was the sibling who had the responsibility of raising her siblings. And so I'll get more into that later on. But people like me who have experienced that trauma so early, and we didn't
Mhm.
go through that early development, it causes trauma later on in your adult life because we say in the Black culture, she never got a chance to be a kid, and so
Right,
that's
right.
kind of my experience.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. So your childhood, how would you define it? I mean, would you say it was a rough childhood? Would you say it was okay? Would you say it made you who you are?
I would say it made me who I was. Mom loved us so much. People would come to our home because mom is an excellent cook. And even though we were poor, we didn't really have cable, no phone. We walked to the laundromat. Mama could cook, and it was so much love in our house. So some of our friends who were two-parent homes or were privileged, they would come to our house and stay all day because of the love there. But now on the other end of that, yes, it was a lot of trauma. Yes, it was a lot of poverty. I know what it's like to not have lights for months. I know what it's like not to have water. I know what it's like not to have heat. And though, we went to school with our poker face, um, I see now it affected me. And the reason why I work so hard is because that fear of um, my children experiencing lack.
Mm,
So to answer your question, there was a lot of love. I come from a loving family, but
yeah,
love and poverty, those are two different things.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Well, look, I want to go ahead and deep dive if it's okay with you. I know you got some experience. One of the things I'm looking at, life and fitness coach. We're gonna get into that a little bit later on. I want to get into some things you
Mhm.
can help, you know, women and people with. One of the things I see that you have some knowledge on, Shemeka, addiction, like to food, sex. That is something that people, the food part, I would say 50-50. People are 50-50 on saying, hey, I don't mind admitting that, but the sex part, that is something that people try to keep, hey, I'm really too embarrassed to talk about that. But what is your experience with that as far as like addiction, and how can we be helped with stuff like that?
Well, the backstory is just growing up um, in the hood, not really being taught, just doing what the culture said. There was a lady who, her name was, I won't say her name on here, but she taught me what fornication was. I had never heard it before. And she was a Christian woman. I remember even after her explaining it to me, when I would engage in the act as a teenager, I would still hear her voice. She taught me what it was. She showed me in the word what it was and what God said. Fast forward, I'm
Mhm.
extremely um, obese, um, making money, but it's running through my hands. I'm going out to eat all the time. I'm buying clothes, and you'll see this in my book. But as my relationship with Christ began to develop, He showed me an image of myself through a dream. But as He showed me that, I remember in the dream very clearly asking Him, "Who is that?" And He told me, He said, "That's you." And I woke up. I was so fit and so healthy. Now this is foresight. In the current part, I'm overweight, 361. I'm working maybe at Alsec, St. Jude or something. I have my salon, I'm doing hair. But again, I'm poor, I'm fat, I'm obese. And the Lord began to deal with me in His Word. True story, guys.
Wow.
And let me just say this: I have not arrived. I've backslidden so many times, and I keep asking Him, "Why are you allowing me to tell people?" But I got hired front desk at a gym because of my personality, and I was going there, working out, but I really was, had a pretty face and really not working hard, trying to cover up what was I was feeling on the inside. As I began to work the 4:30 a.m. shift to noon, I stayed in my word because a lot of times the people would come in the gym would be so fit or a man would be so handsome. I couldn't even make eye contact. I was humiliated. I was embarrassed. I'm like, some people would look at me and be like, what is she working front desk for? Like, this is a gym. She's so out of shape.
Wow.
All right, now stay with me, y'all. I'm working the front desk. I have my word. And as I have my word, I'm scribing. So the book is actually what I published working the front desk. Didn't even know it was going to be a book. God begins to tell me in His Word that self control is a fruit of the Spirit. And because I did not have self control, I was a glutton. Because I didn't have self control, I was having sex. Food and the belly and your body is so connected to the flesh. So now I'm eating too much. I'm having too much sex. I'm spending too much. And so it wasn't so much as I wasn't making the money. I had a poverty mindset. So God had to break that. He had to break that within me to show me that because you don't have this fruit yet, you don't have the fruit of self control. That's the reason why you're indulging in all of these things. And along with those things, along with low self esteem, along with overeating, there's other spirits that's associated with like depression. Um,
Been there.
Man, it's so many different things. You have to read the book. So that's how that happened when I began to develop the fruit of self control. Now I'm starting to see my body change. I'm starting to see my appetite change for this type of man and this type of activity. And then I'm starting to see my money bill because I'm no longer buying things to cover up to make me look good on the outside. He was doing the work on the inside. And that's how my body began to transform.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, De'Ara, hey, baby. So let me back up a second. So you actually had an addiction to food. It was just so basically you were living to eat, not eating to live, so to speak, at the time.
Oh yeah, at that time, yeah, because in the culture, in the African American culture, we gonna eat if we happy. We gonna eat if we sad.
Yeah,
We gonna
yeah.
eat if we get promotion. If somebody die, food is all we knew. It's the culture. So when I say addicted to eating, I don't mean like I'm waking up out of my sleep, which I was, but I really mean like no self control, eating past being full, eating
Yeah.
things I knew made me feel bad. That didn't encourage my mental health, my body image. None of those things.
Gotcha, gotcha. So let me ask, did you later on get married?
I got married. And even
Okay.
in getting married, this is the tricky part. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Even in getting married, when you're not in your purpose and you get married out of a broken place, you'll choose a mate out of a sunken place, not the person that God actually has for you. You just go out and marry.
Mhm.
Holy Spirit, I'm asking the Holy Spirit to give me the words to say to encourage the women because what I did was I chose somebody out of my flesh again because I lack self control. I'm going to try to outdo God and say, you know what? If I get married, I won't feel so convicted about sleeping with him. The
Mm.
conviction so heavy. So we should get married. So I can lay down at night and knowing that I'm in a good place. I'm not committing fornication. But the thing about sin is where there's no fruit, there's no self control. Fornication can quickly turn into adultery. You have to house the fruit of the spirit, whether you're single or married. And so, yes, I chose a partner. I chose a partner without going to God, out of
Mhm.
order. And I suffered in my marriage.
Yeah.
And for the people watching that probably say, like, why, like, it's so many things that she did on her own and so many levels of trauma. That's right. Because if you read the book, you'll see everything where I'm at now The decisions I made then, they were all coming from a broken place, and God had to pull so many things out of me. And as you get healed, you begin to see things that you didn't see at first. Some people choose a career out of a broken place, and God never called them to be in that place.
Yeah.
You'll choose a spouse. You'll find yourself buying things that you know you're not supposed to buy, like a new house, a new car, when God hasn't told you to do those things. When you're in a place with God where you're securing Him and you're in your true purpose and identity, you go to Him to get permission before you do things. So you don't even know really that you're broken or you're in a sunken place until you come into a healed place. It's so crazy how it works. But deception is one of the biggest tricks of the enemy. And so I did get married. And again, I suffered in that marriage because I chose to do that.
Gotcha. And let me say this, and you're handling yourself very well. Whenever I ask questions, and people that have been knowing me for a long while, they know when I ask a question, I'm I ask questions for me, but I also ask for people who may be too ashamed to ask. So just, and I'm glad you're not taking any offense to this. I'm glad you're transparent about it, because when you were at the front desk and you could feel people looking at you a certain way, like, why is she here? Like, she don't fit,
Mm-hmm.
because she's not fit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're scribing, you're writing, and you have some changes you need to make. You have low self-esteem at the time. Between that time and not finding him, but starting to get into a relationship with your ex-husband and getting into a marriage, what happened in between there? Because some people don't think you can have low self-esteem and get married. So how did you get the courage to marry, and how did you all meet?
Well, I met him through one of my family members. And you can get married with low self esteem. Um, it's just, we do it a lot.
Been there.
We people
Exactly.
that I see it so many times where we feel like the other person is supposed to fill the void. I
Wow.
was I've always been called. I've known that. And even to
Hmm.
this day I still struggle with my people who know me, see me out, know I love to sing, I love to dance. They may see me tomorrow and be like, "You was a singing lady on there." Let me tell you something. I have tried to fire myself so many times. God will not, He just, listen, I did not ask for this, okay? I As I was going through my transformation, working at front desk, I did keep the word. There were people who loved on me, who encouraged me. I
Hmm.
made so many great relationships there. God placed me in an uncomfortable situation on purpose. I had to be in that place. And it may seem like vanity, but it wasn't that. I'm thinking, like, why did you use fitness as my method of transformation? He had to change my mind. When he changed my mind, everything connected to that changed as well.
Wow.
As far as him, I'm in the ministry, okay, people.
Hmm.
I'm in the ministry. I'm teaching, I'm singing, I'm preaching, I'm laying hands, but I'm shacking up. And I had a leader at the time was like, "Well, you're not perfect, so you're gonna get there. Don't be so hard on yourself." But the conviction was so thick because not only did God give me the gift of teaching, He gave me the gift of understanding. And it tells you in the Word that to those who are teachers and who know the Word and do opposite, you'll get more stripes. So it was weighing
Hmm.
in on me.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to get ordained on a Sunday. I canceled the Saturday night before my ordination because me and him were not married. And we just sat down and talked about it. And I was like, "We have two children together. Let's just go ahead and get married." And I knew what his struggles were. Yes, he was a good person, but he wasn't prepared to be a husband, especially walk with me.
Hmm.
And so we made the decision, instead of me practicing self control and saying, "You know what, I'm just gonna keep myself, we'll just co-parent." We made the decision to get married. But I married him out of a broken place and trying to get one over on God. Maybe God didn't say marry him. Maybe God was saying practice self control. But
Hmm.
because God is a God who honors marriage and He's faithful to His word, He blessed us. But I suffered so much, and so did He, because I
Wow.
had resentment against Him because I knew I was out of alignment.
Mm. Gotcha, gotcha. And for those that are wondering what I'm actually copying and pasting into the chat, that is the link to her book. You can get it on Amazon, and she actually has a few copies on hand. Her book, Naked. So I'll be doing that throughout, Shemeka. So if you see that constantly popping up, if y'all see that constantly popping up, I'm actually just putting the link to her book out there. What's going on, Jeremy? What's up, Dale One? So both of you all at the time in the marriage, you're married, but you're both broken, so to speak.
Mhm. That's right.
Um, so in this marriage, I'm pretty sure there was some bad days, but I'm pretty sure there were some good days. You have two beautiful children, and things go good for a while, and maybe there's some.
All right. So I can't hear you. Are you there?
Can you hear
All
me?
right. I can hear you. Had left the
All right.
scene for a minute.
Yeah, lost connection for a second. So when it does that, y'all, I'm not sure why it does that. Just stick with this; it'll be right back. But as I was saying, in the marriage, because I'm in my second marriage now. In the marriage, you're gonna have days, even in a bad marriage. A lot of times, you're gonna have your ups and your downs. You're gonna have your downs and ups. So some
Mhm.
days they're good, but there may be some challenges there verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically. Did you experience abuse? And if so, what type?
I experienced verbal. I've experienced emotional and
Hmm.
physical.
Wow.
I didn't have a healthy relationship example. And for some of us on this live, you'll be the first of many. You didn't have a blueprint. I was an entrepreneur. I was one of the first in my family. I didn't have a blueprint. Some people, spiritually speaking, they'll say you're the one that's breaking generational curses.
Hmm.
A lot of us have that. And so, yes, I experienced all of those things, verbal, physical, emotional. There were times, even though I was a professional woman, even though I'm going to Ole Miss at the time, even though I have a high GPA, I'm fighting um, right before class, after class. He's struggling with addiction. There was time where I remember specifically where I was getting ready to do worship at a conference, a huge conference in Memphis, a prophetic conference, and we had a lot of mega preachers coming, and I had to sing that night. And he got under the influence of some bad drugs, and he bit me. And when I tell you he bit me, he bit like I still have the scar, but it was two types of
Wow.
drug that was mixed together. So I went to church that same night, like nothing ever happened because that was my norm. That was my norm. And I see so many intelligent women, women of God. I have women in my sister circles that have licenses to practice, that have that's working on their doctorate. And the same experience black women have been suffering in silence. We're suffering. I see women of God serving every Sunday and coming home to a husband that's either abusing them or cheating on them and things like that. And we have people to tell us to pray it away or to stay. But the long term effects of abuse and trauma and not being able to see a healthy relationship exemplified in front of you, um, it definitely does some damage to your emotions, the way you think, the way you move in relationships. And so even now I find myself saying, you know what, me, you're not ready. You think you are, but you're not. So that's kind of what I experienced in my relationship. And I will say this, not to belittle him. My ex-husband still calls. I treat him with so much respect. Our children love their father because he was the fun parent
Wow.
and I was the disciplinary, but they didn't understand he was fun because he was under the influence. But now because they're teenagers, they understand. They love me so much. But I don't bash their dad at all. They love
Awesome.
their father. He
Awesome.
calls so much as if we're still married. And I'm like, dude, like we're not married. So I have a lot of respect for him. I do because I understand the disease of addiction. It's not him, it's something else. That's not who he is as a person. He's he's a nice man. He has an addiction.
Wow. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, but I have to ask on that note. Um, how did you get out of it, and what made you make the decision to get out of it? Because I'm hearing you say, evidently, you talked to some people or a person, and you're encouraged to stay. Work that out. I understand. Um, what made? Where did you get the courage from to? Well, let me ask you this. I have to ask you this before we get to the courage part.
Hmm.
The What were people telling you as far as staying? I mean, what was going on with that?
Well, mama, she would make it when you tired, you gonna leave. She was like, you can leave at any point. But me, I didn't want my kids to. I had this idea in my mind, Clint, that if I got married, I wanted my kids to have their father in the home. I didn't want them to grow up like we did. My stepdad he was okay. We have a great relationship now. But I always had this idea of being married and that man and I being the being in our home raising our children. But in the church it was like, well, just pray, things will get better. I don't think they understood the physical part. Just pray. But I'll say this, even when he began to change, even when he
Hmm.
began to go to church with me and stop drinking, because I come out the streets. So when I came out the streets into the church, I didn't have any balance. I was either too gangster or too holy. So in hindsight, I wasn't the perfect wife either. I was
Okay.
not. I stayed on him about everything. And it was really because I resented him and because I made the choice to say, let's go get married. And I was in control and things of that nature. So, with that being said, people would tell me to just pray. But when he began to come to church and try to change his life, I was looking for any reason to get out of the marriage. I would compare him to my other friends' husbands and
Mm.
be like, well, I wish he was articulate like Clinton. I wish he had the ability to do this like such and such husband. Those were my thoughts. And so I have to own up to that as well, being
Awesome.
out of alignment, being out of
Yeah.
order. And now when he's trying, I'm still having that resentment and that anger towards him. So with that being said, yes, he suffered too. And what I remember one day he looked at me because he's a very kind and humble person when he's not drinking. And he said, because he stuttered, he said, well, you knew how I was when you married me. And
Wow.
he was not lying, and that was the thing that I was most afraid to say. And
Wow.
only the spirit revealed that to him. I was mad at him because I knew what I was getting into. He knew what he was getting into, so he was willing to marry me with all of my flaws, all of my body insecurities, all of my traumas. He was good with it. But I married him and then I resented who he was not.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So what brought on the abuse from his end? And I'm not going to stay on that, but it was basically the drinking. He was a different person.
Yeah, it was,
Um,
and then he started to, mess around with some harder substances.
gotcha. And from your end, because you said you weren't the perfect wife either, you were still battling things like depression, low self esteem, and the fact that you weren't educated as far as marriage was concerned. So you
Mhm.
was still battling stuff like that. Even I guess I'll go ahead and say it, unforgiveness for what I'm hearing.
And not that you hit it on the head, but also I'm making bread. So he's getting disability, but I'm making bread. And sometimes when women make money, hear me with these. When women make money and they make more money than their man, hmm
Mm,
sometimes we get cocky. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? You can leave.
yeah,
I'm good. He could have left any day because I was good. But even in that goes back to fruit. Who are you, Shemeka?
yeah.
What does a wife do? How does she speak to her husband? How does she handle herself? Yes, I have the ability to make money. I have the ability to create. I've always been this way. If I ain't publishing a book, I'm singing. If I'm not singing, I'm speaking. If I ain't speaking, I'm doing hair. But it's running through your hands. You're not
Mhm.
building anything. So again, in hindsight, these are the lessons you learn looking back.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things I went through for people that I'm talking to tonight. If I could have told somebody, if somebody would have told me, because I didn't have a blueprint, Mama, Her and her husband are together. My aunties, they work hard, they independent, they got nice houses, nice jobs. They're not married. Somebody has to show you. So I went to the body of Christ and I saw things and I tried to glean from those people. But again, divorced to this day. So a lot of the information that I got, it was spiritual. Pray it away, fast it away. But
Yeah.
there's always a but.
Yeah. I got you. Cornita, how you doing? JK, excuse me for a second, Shemeka, and I want you to stick with me. Um, and I'm gonna try to choose my words carefully. We're yet praying for you. We're gonna continue praying for you, JK. JK, I don't want to just. I know she said it on Facebook, but she experienced a loss like very close to her, very close, tragic, and I'll leave it at that. But just know, I'm not saying I wasn't JK because I was, but De'Ara was messed up behind that. So Shemeka, this is right on time to be honest with you because um, sometimes you just kind of wonder how is she standing, man. She's going through some stuff, but just know we're praying. I just had to throw that out there, Shemeka. But um, so let's keep moving, Shemeka. Abuse in the marriage. You've had some experience with being addicted to food, and I understand what you mean by that. Just not practicing self control. The stuff you're talking about, I've been there, so I can relate to this. Um, um, Depression, Shemeka. In a marriage, how do you go through depression? I'm asking in third person. How do you go through depression and you're married? You got your boo right there. How do you be depressed? How do you anxiety? You experience anxiety and you got husband, you got children. How are you experiencing anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem? And you got somebody laying right there with you. Some people may be saying, Shemeka, I don't even have anybody. I can see why I'm depressed, but how did you go into a marriage like that? If somebody were to ask you that, how would you answer that?
I would say it's very possible to be anxious and to be depressed in a marriage. Where I am now, I realized here recently my choice of relationships can cause me anxiety or not. I know my personality type. I know what happened to me in the past. And so now I try to put myself in situations and in relationships that bring calmness to me and not anxiety.
Mm,
There's a certain type of relationship where there's a friendship. So for people that's choosing a friend, that friend that that's consistent, that friend that um, talks a certain way, communicates a certain way. For my personality type, that's a person that I'll see myself being friends with a long time. But a person who's inconsistent, who doesn't communicate well, who
mm,
doesn't carry themselves in a consistent way, that makes me anxious, wishy washy. So that person, me knowing me now, being self
yeah,
aware, knows that that person is not fit for my personality type. Depression. Depression started early, and it started because again, I'm that right hand to mom. I'm being able to see the struggles, being able to, Mika, can you do this? Can you run up here? Can you do this? I need you to do that. I need you to do this. Put your sisters in the tub, comb their hair, take them a bath. I need you to do this. I wasn't at the game. I didn't go to the prom. I'm babysitting.
wow,
Things like that. And so, um, and it wasn't intentional. She worked hard, but those are what you call abandonment issues or some form of neglect. So that started early. We're talking about hindsight. It wasn't a word for it then. It's 60, 70, 80, baby. It wasn't a word for it then.
gotcha.
You didn't call things depression or anxiety. So my point to saying all of this is no person can fill the space that God has set just for him. And so if you're thinking that marriage will make you less depressed or being single causes you to be depressed, no. I if I could not be on this live and be in a very intimate session with women, I would tell you guys so many things that will literally blow your mind about me. I'm
Mm,
in the master's level program now. I have a really high GPA. I'm on a scholarship, all of those things. None of that means nothing. Like I'm from the projects in real life. I'm telling you that Nothing, no accomplishment in life ever, no amount of money ever will fill the void that God has set for him. We have to allow him to come in and do root work. I'm 43 and I'm still learning how to surrender. I thought to myself today, why are you still choosing people and relationships that cause you to be anxious? If this man is not texting you consistently, he's not communicating with you
Mm.
consistently, he's hot, he's cold, it's not his fault. It's your fault because you're choosing people that put you in anxiety mode.
Wow.
And so we have to guard our hearts. And with that being said, that's the instruction that God gave us. So when I see women that say, well, he did this and he did that, I understand, baby girl. But it was your responsibility to guard your heart because out
Hmm.
of it goes the issues of life. And so I found myself on a constant cycle of picking this type of mate and choosing this type of friend only to end up feeling rejected or abandoned all over again. And so it's a
Wait a
cycle.
minute, Shemeka. I got to cut you off on this one because you hit me with real now, and a lot of people don't do this. But usually people on Clint Speak does. So this platform is something else, man. And it's not to put no glory on me or this platform, but I just like your transparency. What you just said, I hear and I've heard that I'll be 49 in August. So out of all the years of my life, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a woman say, and this is not to pick on women, men ain't this, men ain't that. But here you come and you say, hey, you're going through anxiety because you picked an anxiety situation.
It's true. That is so
Oh
true.
man.
I have,
Oh
when I tell you, I worked, listen, my barbershop, I was the only woman in there. I've had some great relationships with men. I've been able, I'm a beautiful woman. I know how to seduce a man. I know how to talk to a man. I understand the lingo. I understand those things. I'm not an expert, but I also understand that men are human and I have to be accountable to the type of man that I allow in my space. I'm not
gotcha.
going to say men are dogs. I will say that I've been disappointed. I've been to the point where I have lost hope in black men. I've been to that point. This is a transparent moment.
Yeah.
I've been to the point where I feel like black men have let us down as women, as a provider, as a protector, as a safe space. Even in situations where I go get my oil changed or um, just simple things where I need a male representation, whether it's my
Hmm.
uncle, my brother, my friend, whatever. There's so many lack of strong husbands and fathers in the black community, and I see a lot now that African American men are running to other races because of what they look like, or they wear their own hair and this and that, and the black woman kind of feels defenseless out here, and the other cultures know that, and they handle us a certain way.
Yeah.
So I'll say that, but not to bash black men or anything like that. But I will say, um, what it all boils down to when I'm on my knees and crying to God and saying this, like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? You forgot to guard your heart. You
Wow.
choose partners and friends, jobs, things like that that cause you to be in a frenzy. Why are you choosing them?
Wow. So let me ask you this, because we did first off, if you notice the link that I'm putting in the comment section, everybody that's looking, that is the link to her book Naked. Um, Again, you can purchase it on Amazon. She has a few copies on hand. So let me ask you, Shemeka. We've gone over your childhood. We've gone over how you've had lack of self-control when it comes to like 90% of the nation,
Yeah,
food, sex. You've gone through depression. You've had experienced abuse in the marriage, and this is not to pick on him. But you've also had some educational achievements even through all of this. Enlighten me on that before we go further.
I've been bright my entire life. I've been articulate. I've been able to understand and comprehend easily. And my next book is going to be called Mishandled, and it talks about how we typically mishandle time, people, and resources. A lot of gifted children, if you're a Bible reader, are born in dysfunctional homes. And if you
Hmm.
don't identify your children's gift early, you'll run the risk of mishandling them. And so, yes, A lot of people think that I was so smart, and I was. But Clint, this is the crazy part. I did not graduate from high school. I got my GED.
What?
I'm telling the whole world. Most people think like
Wow.
she. I did not. I got my GED. I was so bad. I was always fighting. I was getting high all the time in school, smoking weed. But I was talented, so I was known for singing and rapping and doing hair. So I'm like, to hell with school. Let me get my GED. I'm raising my siblings anyway because I'm missing too many days. I got my GED. I took my ACT, scored high, went to Northwest. When I got to Northwest, I ended up getting my cosmetology license and I wanted to go to school for business administration. But when I met with an advisor at Ole Miss, she's like, you have a really compassionate, giving heart. I think you'll be good in this field. So I took another, was it either a math or a science placement test to get enrolled to Ole Miss. I scored high again, so I ended up going to Ole Miss. I graduated from Ole Miss with a social work degree. Then I've been doing hair and running the business ever since, kind of working jobs part time in and out. Well, recently I got a word that I needed to go back to school. And sure enough, I was like, God, you want me to go to school? Let me know. And I applied for a couple schools. And long and short, university gave me over $30,000 last semester. I submitted my book, two of my undergrad papers, and my transcripts. And that's what I'm doing now. I mean, he
Wow.
making a way. And so and again, this is just him because I got a prophetic word that I was going back to school, and I was like, no, I'm not, because I'm not about to take out no loans. And he
Yeah.
made it clear for me. So that's where I'm at. I'm the student social work president. I'm a parent president over another nonprofit. So yeah, God has been good to me as far as my education and being able to speak and communicate and teach.
But you also, along with that, not but also along with that, you're a life and fitness coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh
just
yeah.
amazing to me how when people allow God to deliver them and they want a different mindset, they want to be delivered from things. And like my pastor said, deliverance a lot of times it's not going to happen immediately. It's
No,
a
it's progressive.
process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's amazing how somebody who used to sell drugs, when they stop doing that and they say, this is not my life no more. I don't want this no more. And they make that change spiritually, naturally. God always lead them to go back and talk to the homies on the block that they sold together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people who come out of prostitution, the first people they gonna be led to go back and talk to is their sisters on the block. Hey, this
Right.
ain't, you know what I'm saying? I don't do this no more. And you'll notice, you'll hear stories of females saying to the other female, man, you look clean. Well, I thought we was clean
Mhm.
out here. We know we bathed, we did our hair, but no, you look different. And
Mhm.
and it's something how you had a struggle, like me at times, weight, you know, and now you're a fitness coach.
Mhm.
How is that? You know what I'm saying? How does that feel to you? Like when you hear, okay, Shemeka back in the day depressed, I'm overweight, and you said you weighed how much at one time?
361.
Wow. But now you're a fitness
Mhm.
coach, so you're basically helping other people get fit. How does that feel,
I love
man?
it. I love it. Even people that's super fit at the gym, they come and ask me, "Can I work out with you?" They'll watch me. They like, "Girl, you killing it." I love it. Everything that the enemy gives you, I tell people this: identify the area in your life where there's the most attack. That's your greatest anointing. My body.
Wow.
I was so overweight. I had a baby doll face my entire life. So I was able to finesse it. Oh, I'm good. You know how it BBW, I'm good. I'm fine. I long ain't got no this. I ain't got that. I'm
Hmm.
insecure. I'm insecure in my marriage. I don't want to be naked in front of my husband. Then a
Hmm.
fine woman walk in. I'm insecure. See, these are the things that we ain't talking about, ladies. These are the things that we not saying. That's how the enemy attacks you. When you identify your area of attack, like I keep getting attacked in my money, you probably anointed for it. I keep getting attacked in my
Wow.
health, you probably
Speak.
anointed for it. So the enemy gives you this, but when God flip it, He flipped the game.
Wow.
You found out that you everything opposite of what the enemy told you. You depressed. Nah, you the one to carry the joy. You sick. Nah, you great. You made to be fit. You this. I'm telling you, God
Wow.
flipped the game on the enemy. You get what I'm saying? So you
Yeah,
gotta
you
identify
speaking.
the area. And that's the reason my book is called Naked, because I wanted to get two types of audiences. I wanted people to see, like, what's she talking about? Well, nakedness talks about being vulnerable, showing your entire self. I'm not all the way naked yet at 43. God is still undressing me.
Mm,
Even like tonight, I need to be delivered for some things. My
yeah.
sister was killed in March, my baby sister. I found myself backsliding to some old ways. But when we talk about being naked, when we talk about being vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? That being your true self, your true purpose, being that, it attracts light. So yeah, it feels so good. It's not vain, it's purpose. It feels so good to be able to talk to people and say, oh, so you're dealing with that? You need to eat this. I remember being in my kitchen like a chemist. God would tell me what my body needed. I'm like, I ain't ever heard of it. Is this a real herb?
Wow.
Boom. I Googled it and it'd be like, why I didn't know about this? He would
Mhm.
literally give me food to eat. I would wake up in the morning and be like, beets. I'm like, beets. And I'm like, I'm feeling some type of way. Sure enough. So long and short, it feels amazing. I never in a million years thought that Shemeka, who was embarrassed to get up and walk past a certain crowd inside, but outside I seemed confident, too embarrassed of my body to lay down with my husband, to turn the lights off when I get ready to sleep with him. Girl, that's your responsibility to take care of your body. Before you get married, why are you in the marriage? You need to
Wow.
be tip top shape as a kingdom woman, not just physically, emotionally, financially. Like now, if I met him tomorrow, Lord Jesus, I don't want to take no low credit score. I don't want to be talking about turn the lights off. I don't look good.
Mhm.
Girl, that is not of God. So that's why I
Wow.
call my book Naked. Mentally, I can't take this abuse that I've been through in my marriage unless God has designed him to understand me and to help me. I'm still hurting in some areas, but that's the reason why I say that. That's what it is. Everything the devil tells you, like Clint said, you'll find yourself ministered. My last job, I worked with prostitutes. My last job, I worked with people with HIV and AIDS. Ain't that crazy? When
Wow.
I was
I'll tell you, I didn't know that.
Oh yes, I didn't tell you that on purpose, but I worked for an agency in Memphis, and I won't say the agency where we dealt with human trafficking and things of that nature. And so I never in a million years thought I'd be going to holler at a sister, be like, "Girl, you can do better." But
Wow.
long and short, you know, and I'm getting excited now when he said that God will flip the script on you. You think you're going through for you. You're not going through for you. You're going through to pull other people's out. You the Harriet Tubman in your game. You go
Wow.
back and get the other ones.
Wow. I'm trying to hold my sight because I'm not trying to make this about me, but I can relate when I'm speaking with someone as far as relationships, when I'm speaking with somebody as far as um, uh, finding their passion. I'm the same way because I'll tell you this. I remember, and again, Shamika, I'm not making it about me. I'm just saying how I can relate to what you're saying.
I know.
When
I'm
I
not. I
played
don't.
ball, yeah, I appreciate this. So when I played ball for Tresvent, from the ninth to through the 12th grade, my goals were set. It was already clear. NBA, nothing less. NBA. And when that dream didn't come to fruition, I'm lost. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people out here lost in that area. So I feel what you're saying. So it's easy for me to talk to them. And you find it a joy because honestly, I can say this and you'll back me on this. When you're a life coach or any type of coach, you're there because you don't want people to go through what you've been through.
Well, you're gonna see me move a little,
That's
but it
fine.
does not mean I'm listening. I know this is very informal, but I want people to know that I'm moving a little bit to a new section, so you can keep asking me questions as I move into a more secure spot.
No, you're good. You're good. But I was just saying how I feel you on the excitement part when you're coaching. So you just basically you have a heart in the area. You're like, man, I just don't want you to go through what I've been through. And I know some people look at it like, man, you on your second marriage. What can you tell me? A lot. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Hey,
you know.
That's the truth. Because one thing about it, experience is not the best teacher. I mean, successes, failures are. You learn more from your failures than your successes.
Most definitely, most definitely. I always said other people's experience because hey, look, in a lot of cases, right? Look, it shouldn't take me to get caught with a quarter ounce of weed, to get to get popped up in locks to know,
That's
hey,
right.
this wasn't right. I can see what somebody else got knocked up and like, oh, I shouldn't do that. But your book, I've been putting the link to your book in the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what made you, again, I believe you've said it, but if you did repeat that, what made you want to write? What and how did you come to that conclusion?
This one is gonna be so funny, y'all. I promise you. I've been journaling 9, 10 years. I got journals now. I've always kept a record of things, what I asked God to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so bear with me as I get my device on the
You're
charger.
fine.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
So he put my back against the wall right before COVID. Right before COVID. Had no idea COVID was coming. I just remember getting the word, of course, being in a relationship with God, um, saying finish the book. I'm like, man. So I literally got a deadline. I end up going to a hotel to get away from my kids and finishing my book that weekend. I end up publishing a book, and then this disease came out called COVID-19. And I was like, Lord Jesus, like, what's happening here? Y'all, I did not know that that book was going to be my source of income when everybody was getting laid off and fired. God was
Wow.
blessing me. Right. He gives you everything you need in advance. Listen, if I had been disobedient and not finished my book in that weekend and have it published and all that right before COVID, I would have been one of those people that was not bringing in income. I made more money during COVID selling my book. You see
Wow.
how strategic he is.
Yeah.
I thought, yes, and
Wow.
I published it, and I was able to make people were pre-ordering because people who knew me from the hood, they call if I go back home to Oxford, they call me Mika P. They everybody know me for singing and rapping. So they wanted to know all the inside stories. So when I put naked on her, it's like, oh, she gonna be telling people some stuff. I sure did. But I had scriptures to back up everything. So it was well sought after. So even before I actually had it hard copies, people were paying me in advance to get it. And
Wow.
then so now organizations are ordering it. And can you speak to our group? I was able to talk to the Braxton sisters, the ladies from Love and Hip Hop. I did one of their podcasts during COVID. And God was supplying the need off of my obedience from writing a book at the front desk of a gym. And the book is not connected in any way. It's all sporadic inspiration, revelation that God gave me in that moment.
Wow.
Does it make
Man,
sense?
see, yeah, see, I didn't. I wanted to wait to. I'm this type. I like to wait until it's live. I didn't even want to ask you while we were trying to get this together. Through chat. I wanted to hear, and I'm glad I did, man, because this stuff I did not know. Did the Braxton sisters? What?
Yeah, yeah, it's a flyer on my page. I'll show you. There's another author. So it's a long story, but the lady
Okay.
at my church where I sang, she does photography in Atlanta. And the lady published a book and she was looking for singers or upcoming authors to do a book tour with her. And I
Hmm.
was so excited and she plugged me. So I was really scheduled to do a book tour with her before COVID came out and it shut everything down. So I was disappointed.
Wow.
But long and short, I was able to host a virtual book review with Erica from Love and Hip Hop, not Tamar, two of the other sisters, Trina and somebody else, and we all had to discuss my friend's book, but I was the host. And
Wow.
so it was good to talk to women of that caliber who said, you know what, Mika, they talked about low self-esteem. They talked about being a millionaire and still coming home to, you know,
Yeah.
abuse
Hmm.
and adultery. And I was thinking, like, man, look at Erica. She like perfect, 5'10", little waist, anybody's dream. And she went through hell with her rap artist husband, Little Scrappy. You know what I mean? And
Wow.
so We have
Mhm.
common things, but when you select a mate out of a broken place, when God doesn't lead, the results are always the same.
I got to ask you this question because I almost had you on here for an hour, and I will be getting with you too because I got to get a book going myself. Honestly, I've been slacking on it for 2 years, but anyway, the things that we've talked about tonight, Shemeka, the addiction, whether that's to food, sex, abuse in the marriage, depression, anxiety. Um, not gonna ask, are you over all of that? But how did you move on to this point from where you were? What? How did you progress?
Transparency. Now this is the part where many people may not agree with me, but I'm a Christian, and the Bible says you overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. The things that you choose to hide, you choose to live with, but the things you
Wow.
expose, oh my God, it's so much liberty in confessing a thing. The more I confess a thing and I say, like, this is what happened, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm dealing with, there's a freedom that comes with it. And so, this is even tonight, and I'm speaking this over myself because I have the right to do that. Even tonight, as I'm sharing, I don't know who's in the comments, I haven't seen anything, but I believe that there's a greater level of freedom that's coming to me because I've been dealing with some things here and here.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's how I've overcome. I've overcome by sharing, confessing, um, having healthy relationships, and building off my supports, and then calling a thing, even if it's in my own family, to say, this is what we've always done, but this is not healthy. This is not how it's supposed to be done. So
Wow.
you run the risk when you're trying to get delivered or free or be a curse breaker, you run the risk of offending people, and that's okay. Do I always get it right? I do not. I do not, because again, you don't even know that you're broken until you get to a heal place. You don't even know you're poor until you've been exposed to wealth. You don't even know you're sick until you've been exposed to health. So a
Hmm.
lot of things were foreign, and this is the kicker. God will give you revelation when you're ready.
Mm. Wow.
He does. It's progressive. He doesn't show you all of it at once because you don't have the capacity to house it. But when God showed me that most of my issues were caused by me, the first thing I did was weep. I repented.
Mm.
I didn't have the right paradigm. I didn't see myself correctly. So instead of me blaming, I remember crying so hard because it wasn't that person. It was nobody's fault. It was me. Because
Wow.
I was so blinded. And that's how the enemy works. He's cunning and deceptive. You know, he'll have you to see something or believe something and come into agreement with something. And it's totally opposite of what God has said.
Wow. Shamika, if anybody, and I know women are probably going to do that. I'm not probably. I know. I just don't want to speak to the women because I don't want to. I don't want to. How can I say this? Limit your audience because there are some men who, hey, need to be fit too. But I know there are going to be some women that are going to contact you and they need coaching through certain situations. How can they contact you?
Mhm. They can contact me through Facebook under Shemeka Pettis. There's a blue check. On Instagram is Miss Ramsey to you. And then on TikTok, I can't remember my name on there because I'm not on there often. But what I'll do is my email is my name, Shemeka Pettis 1 at gmail.com. And I'll get you to post it. It's spelled just like my name, Pettis, but the number 1 at gmail.com. And I do want to say this because we have a short time to the men. I pray that the men on here, that something fell on your ears about how to handle your daughters, your nieces, the women in your life. You guys are leaders. And a lot of the trauma that we are experiencing, we need that male support. We need that male relationship in a non-sexual way. Be who you need to be so we can be who we need to be.
Gotcha. Shamika Petty's the number one. What was that at
Gmail.com.
gmail.com? I'm putting that in the comments as well. So Man, Shemeka, I appreciate you coming on tonight. And I know, like you said, men and women enlightened. The book, Naked. I pinned that comment in the comments, well, that link in the comments rather. Go get it, y'all. Go get it. Right now, it's crazy because I getting into the realm of starting to read again, and it's crazy, Shamika, when you were expert at something and you just stop and you try to do it years later. It's like, man, can you believe our third grade? I remember third grade, Shamika, just loving to read. I couldn't wait for her to call on me to read because I was so fluent. Man, I'd be stuttering so much now. And I'm a motivational speaker, but it's like, man, but I'm trying to get back into that mode, and I'm getting back into it, even with Audible. But I'm glad to have you on tonight because people needed to hear that. You dropped a lot of gems, and it's only an hour long, y'all. Y'all know me personally. I know people be on, man. You be on there for 4 days straight, Doc. But Shamika, she showed y'all some grace tonight. But listen, it was a lot packed into this hour. So thank you, Shamika, for coming on. You're more than welcome to come back. There are going to be other topics, with you and Tamika, Robert, and other people. Hey, you're more than welcome. So I appreciate it. Um, any last words for the women that may still be like, man, listen, I need to know how to get up out of this, man.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I pray that God is glorified by something that I said. I would tell the women, don't beat yourself up when you find yourself in cycles, but you need to be accountable. When you make mistakes, fall short, all of those things, they're already been forgiven. But you have to rise up, break yourself out of a situation to be who you really need to be. Um, and everything else is going to attract itself to you. So rest in that. Be patient. Have grace and mercy within your own self. When you make mistakes, own up to them. A lot of us have been through so many things, but I am a witness. When you're ready for help, help is available. God
Mm.
knows when you make up in your mind and in your heart, and when it's in sync, when it's not just words, He'll send you the help. And so I'll be praying. I know what it's like to struggle here and here. I know what it's like to be brilliant, to be extraordinary, but to be mishandled. So remove those people out of your life that causes you anxiety, that
Mm.
causes you to be on edge. Well, they're all I have. It's okay. Lean into your pain. Lean into it. I mean, lean into it. I want you to feel it because that's the only thing that helps me. I remember my pain. I thank God for my pain. I wouldn't have it no other way. But instead of running to things and people, run to it and allow it to transform you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, y'all listen, I'm not gonna add to that. I'm gonna let her have that last word. But on that note, Shamika and the rest of you all, thank you all. Have a good night. Have an awesome rest of your week. We love you. And y'all be safe out there. Thanks again, Shamika.
Thank you. Have a good night.